All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the DEO Secrets podcast. I'm Jake Poole, the CEO of the Dentist Entrepreneur Organization. And with me, I have, one of the most impactful leaders really inside of dental right now, JW Oliver, the managing partner of Support DDS. And we are going to dig into today how to delegate, how to manage time, how to juggle a lot of priorities, JW, well, as a leader, as a CEO. And so maybe we can start out with you giving folks a little bit about yourself and maybe even a little bit about your CEO journey.
Yeah, well, you're asking me to jump into some big shoes saying I'm an impactful leader. That always catches me a little off guard, but thank you for that, Jake. Yeah, it's hard, and I think being in a leadership role is very difficult. We see ourselves as entrepreneurs, but we're our own worst enemy, right? We cause ourselves to hit our own ceilings because we don't want to grow, we don't want to delegate, we don't want to empower others, and I think that's something that I've become real passionate about in the last few years because my journey was I had run a smaller, very boutique dental equipment company is how I got into the business. And then as ZimWorks and Support DDS began to scale, began to realize myself, Jake, that I can't do all this. I can't control things like I used to be able to control them. So for me, I use a little acronym. I've stolen, I've politely borrowed some of it, I guess is the right way to say it. But I look at how do you eliminate things you shouldn't be doing? How can you automate areas that can use automation technology? And then how can you empower other people, or if you want to use delegate to other people, so that you can really concentrate on those areas that are most important? And I think that's really critical. I was just listening to a podcast about leadership, Craig Rochelle's podcast, and it says you should be evaluating literally at least once a month on things that you no longer should be doing. And I think that's true. It's looking at what we do because we again become the ceiling for that as well.
Yeah. Well, let's give folks a little context as to what level kind of you're playing the game at, as far as how many people, are relying on you to lead them, right? So maybe give some folks the different cities. So those of you that follow along Support DDS, folks in the dental industry can hire them to and their team to work really almost any job inside of the office. And so you have a team, JW, outside of the US, and essentially providing support for those dental offices. So yeah, give us a rundown of kind of where you guys operate and the size of the operation.
Yeah, we started in 2018 really as a ministry opportunity. My partner and I said, "Hey, he's from Zimbabwe, got a business partner there," and he's like, "Well, let's put people to work." I thought it was going to be a sideline business, Jake. No idea that it would be a full-time job soon. So we're in Harare, Zimbabwe, and the reason for Africa, the reason it's important is not only are they very well educated, about 96% having a college degree, university education, but the level of speaking proficiency of, I like to make a little of the English language. They got a little Queen's English. And so that became very popular. So Harare, Zimbabwe, we started in 2017. In Zambia, we opened up just in June of this year. And then Costa Rica, we have an office there for our Spanish speaking teams. But, we're right at 1,200. So we've got about 1,200 people. Internally, we also have about 100 and I think it's 60 that's on our internal staff that lead that team. And yeah, it's been being an entrepreneur myself for 30 plus years. This was totally different because it scaled so quickly, and a lot of it was some on the job training for me. So that's a lot of pressure.
So you've got 3 different countries you're operating out of, 1,200 team members, and then you're serving the United States. So you're traveling. It's got to be some web of matrix of how you're traveling there. So I'd love to dive into what. Give me an idea of your schedule, like you get the next like 3-4 weeks, just so folks get an idea kind of how much you're juggling here.
Yeah, this is a busy season. I'm actually just got back from an event in Florida, a dental forum event. I got back on Wednesday. The next morning, we drove to Austin for a ministry event. My wife and I did. We support a ministry here. We're going back tomorrow, which is Saturday. Sunday, I fly to Atlanta. We've got a 3-day event there. Come back on Tuesday. Wednesday night, so I get back Tuesday afternoon or late afternoon. Wednesday night, I fly to Scotland to meet with a client in Edinburgh, the UK, and be there for a week. Actually, come back through New York, and I've got a meeting. It's a meeting with some folks from Zimbabwe in New York, and then I'll be home for literally a day. Go back to Seattle to an accounting group that I'm speaking with, an accounting a forum in Seattle. Come back. I actually will get a little bit of a break. Well, I take that back. Got to go to the DSO event in Atlanta for 1 day, and then I got a 4 or 5 day, and then I'm off to Zimbabwe for 2 weeks, and we'll do a Zimbabwe and catch Zambia at the same time. So yeah, it's a lot of moving pieces and parts as well.
Yeah, so it's 1,200 people, and that's kind of the schedule that you can go through sometimes. Very curious how you decide what to work on and how you decide what to say no to, right? There's got to be dozens or hundreds of things or places you could be or things you could be working on. Do you have any like mental framework, or how do you decide that?
Yeah, I would back up a little bit and say on this journey, I recently heard it coined, and I think it's right. To go up, you have to let go. And what I was doing even a year ago, but for sure what I was doing 3 and 4 and 5 years ago, I was involved in the finances and the construction and the CapEx spending and human resources and training. But now I really have to be focused in on the vision and where is the direction for what we're going, and obviously being somewhat the face of the organization and speaking opportunities as well. But I actually really depend on my executive assistants that help me in different areas, because Jake, you know this too, there's so much that comes up every day that I look up and say, man, why am I even doing this today, right? Why am I focused on this? I really, number one, I don't have time to do it, but maybe more importantly, I'm not the best person to do this. There's somebody else that I can empower to do this, and they'll help do it better. And I think that's where you start to hit the ceiling. So what I try to do is look at, and I'm a little bit spoiled. I've actually got 4 people that I leverage in different areas.
So you got 4
One
executive
is
assistants or 4 kind of
yeah,
okay.
4 people, and they're in different roles. One of them has been with me about 5 years. Is really my personal executive assistant. Helps me with travel schedules.
Okay.
Helps me with returning phone calls, maybe a little small projects that need to be done, even personal things that can take a load. I've got a strategic project manager, and she handles things that may take a week or 2 weeks that need to have a lot of details, maybe even a small event that we're doing as well. And
Okay.
I've got one that does brand management, so social media posts, little small videos, help keep my personal website up. Anything that is branding up. When I go to Zambia, as an example, or Zimbabwe, he'll set up events that I'll have going on there. So speaking to different groups or internal roles that we'll do. And then he'll help me put together the content, and I'll tweak it with him. And then I've got a young lady that helps me out with when I'm speaking with a client and I want to be, if it's a big, say it's a big DEO client, I'll be on that first phone call, right? And I'll make sure we talk and help them. And then I'll hand it off to Nicole, who can help me with that. So, and then I meet with each one of those once a week, anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour, and really catch up on the details of what they're working on. So it's not easy. You also have to train those people, which sometimes that's usually the biggest part, Jake. Most people don't want to do that. They're like, it's going to take too long. I'll just do it myself. That's really not a good solution.
Yeah, no, I love the detail there. And so you have 4 people that kind of report directly to you they're really there to support you directly. They're not really in the org chart as like an operations manager or like managing a team or anything like that. They're really there to kind of expand your influence. And so I mean, how often are you interfacing with them? Even that's a lot, because then you have your whole company to manage too, right? So you have your 4 people. I mean, are you talking to them every day? Are you getting, is your phone getting just blown up all the time? Like how does the communication go?
They're really pretty good. They come in usually a couple hours before I get up, or about the time I do, and so they'll have some things that maybe ask me for the day. But really, they've gotten really good. Unless it's urgent, they can keep those questions to our weekly meeting, and so that's very helpful. And I'll tell them, look, you don't need to email or message me if it's something we can talk about on Monday or Tuesday, whichever day the meetings are. And so I think it's important that you do that. Now, you mentioned that as well. Yes, we have a large organization, but I've really limited myself to working with our COO. We've got an amazing chief operating officer, and I meet with him. Matter of fact, I met with him this morning. We meet every Friday, usually between an hour and a half, and we just kind of discuss uh, really not a lot of issues, but a lot of direction and vision to where we are going. And then we operate on the EOS system, so I do go to that meeting once a week as well. So regular cadence meetings is down to, and this is key. I'm telling you, if you want to be an effective leader, get rid of meetings. You can't be in meetings all day unless it has to do with something that's going to develop or enhance or grow your business. And I've only got really about 6 7 weekly meetings that I'm required to attend of. And Jake, that's another thing I want to point that out. If you want to see how impactful you are as a leader, look and see what happens when you're not at a meeting. Because if those meetings will go on without you and good things will come out of them and progress, then you're a good leader. If you have to be at every single meeting, you're probably not a very effective leader.
So I love that. So you're down to about 6 or 7 meetings a week, and you're really interfacing with your COO, and they're interfacing with the whole rest of the company. And then it sounds like you've, as a kind of visionary, right? You have really concentrated your time on growing the business. So all the stuff that you mentioned, all the places you're traveling, is that how you think about it? When something comes across your desk, is this something that's going to grow the business? Is this like very high leverage for our future? And you say yes to it. And then if it doesn't hit that threshold, you say no, or how do you decide, what actually gets on your calendar?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And it is one of those mental tick boxes that I do kind of in a flow chart. Is it gonna I think it does two things. Is it gonna advance me? And I'm getting away from personal life, right? Not my wife, my kids, all that. That's a separate deal. But in business, if it's somebody invites me to be at something, I literally just got an email yesterday, somebody who asked me to be at an event at the DSO leadership event and asked me would I be on this panel. And I have to ask myself, is it worth my time?
Mm.
Does it help build the business? Or could somebody else do that just as well as I could? We have some people in the organization, but that's a really, really good point. And whether it's travel or whether it's a meeting, does it take me closer to my vision? If you have a vision and you've got a goal and you have some direction, you can look at everything you do and decide if that's going to get you closer. And if it doesn't, you really got to say no. And some people just don't like to say no.
Yeah.
Look, I like to be places. I love to talk and be places, but you just can't do it all. It's not possible. So you're right. If all this travel, every single thing that I mentioned, as far as all my travel coming up, it's something that is advancing the business as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. And so you grew really fast and you had run kind of a small business before, but the game you're in now is a completely different game, right? Like hyperscale, fast scale. Do you have any coaches or like organization? Like, where do you get your information? How do you keep your mind right? I know that religion's a big part of your, maybe that's your coaching. Where are you finding resources, and where are you getting, like, downloading the information you need to understand how to run the next phase of your business?
Yeah, I've got I would highly recommend if you don't have a business or a life coach, that first of all, that's just insanity. Honestly, that's
You
just
have a coach.
insanity.
You have a
I
coach.
have I have a coach. He actually lives in Cape Town, South Africa. I was introduced to him by my business partner back in 2017. I meet with him now once a month for an hour to an hour and a half. And Jake, we actually have 20 or 22 of our team members that meet with him on a once a month basis as well. I wanted to really have our teams, our leadership, also be able to get the benefit of coaching. So coaching is, to me, is critical. For me, he's a Christian based coach, so we are able to intertwine the faith as well as the business life. So that gets your personal, and I think that's important too. Find you a coach that's not just hammering about business, but will help you get some of that. We love to coin it work-life balance. How do you get that work-life balance in there a little bit as well? I would think the second thing is, I don't watch a lot of television. I'm not saying people have to stop watching TV, but to me, it's just a waste of time. I could do something better. I could go to the gym, or I could
Read a
listen to a
book.
great podcast, or read. Yeah, I love to read. I can read a book. I do try to read daily if I can, for sure, weekly. And yeah, I think if you can find that, and then lastly would be good podcasts. Podcasts are great if you're at the gym, if you're traveling. I mentioned Craig Rochelle podcast. Hands down, I think he has the best leadership podcast in the world. He's just amazing. So if you haven't heard of him, he's definitely worth looking up as well.
Okay, any other podcasts you like while we're at it? I mean, it sounds like you,
That's probably the one I would just
besides the
pop out,
DEO,
and
besides
a
this
DEO
podcast,
podcast.
of
Oh well,
course.
that's well. Hello,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a given. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So just to pronounce that, is Craig Rochelle, or what, how do you pronounce that?
It's Craig. It's Craig and then Groeschel.
Okay, gotcha.
Groesch, and I'm telling you, it's the best leadership podcast I've ever come across. Or tidbits, 20-30 minutes, and I get these ideas all the time. Listen to one just early this morning. It's really, really good.
Nice. I actually have seen that before, where an entrepreneur or leader will meet with a coach, a business coach, life coach. It really does all kind of merge together at some point, right? And then was so successful that, a great strategy is actually to have your team meet with that same person. There's so many synergies that come with that, right? I mean, that coach now has a flavor. I mean, there's obviously a lot that they're talking with your team that's probably they wouldn't, it's they would keep the privacy on,
Confidential. Yeah, absolutely.
confidential,
Yep,
but
yep.
like they have a flavor for what's going on in your business, and that's going to help them coach you a lot better.
Yeah, no, it's been a big help. I can tell you many times. His name is Jeremy, and many times Jeremy will say, "Hey, you might want to visit with so and
Yeah,
so. I think they've got a lot of potential, and really,
yeah,
they're. I think you." And he won't say anything negative. He's like,
yeah,
"You should spend some." And I know immediately, like, all right, I need to set a meeting
yeah,
with that person and take them to lunch or something, right? And you're
yeah.
right, it's very helpful.
What a cheat code. Okay, so last kind of topic or question, just how do you think about the team around you and the quality of the team around you? Like, how do you know that? Well, I mean, I have a few questions. Like, how do you know that you have the right person in the seat? And then how do you just kind of trust all these different parts of the business? For example, you have massive construction going on, right? You can't be in that. A mistake there, some people might feel like would be a big deal, right? Or be costly or whatever. There's dozens of those examples. How do you know you have the right person, and how do you kind of, deal with the emotions of not being involved with a lot of that stuff?
Actually, I heard this on Craig Show's podcast. Is talk about making sure not to get too close to people into the business, because sometimes you have to make purely a business decision, right? Is it the
Mhm.
right person? And look, you probably had this happen as well. It happened to us all. We've had the right person. They were just doing the wrong job, right?
Yeah,
We thought, hey man, Jake is a great guy. You know what? I'm going to make him my CFO. And Jake's going, I don't like accounting, but okay. And then he fails. And then we say, man, Jake's an idiot. What's wrong with him? He's like, I didn't want to be the accountant. So
yeah,
I think, that old right person, wrong seat, et cetera. I think that really works. But also this list literally just happened this morning. I was on my call with COO, and we were talking about one of our team members who we'd had some problems with, and he's a very important role in our company. And Rick called me this morning. We were talking. He said, "Hey, I'm going to tell you what happened with so and so." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Oh man, he's going through a divorce. He's had some financial issues. He's having some other family problems, some problems with his kids. He's actually having some now maybe some alcohol abuse problems. So we realized it wasn't the person, it was some circumstances around. And so we quickly jumped in to be able to help. So get to know your team and find out. We were both like, we should have caught this earlier. We should have been more forthright and upfront with him about how we could help him. So I think it's important to uh, yes, you have to make changes. And I think the early mistakes I made as a leader was not quickly making changes. Say, hey, Jake, I love you. You're a great guy, but you know what? You can't work here. We're going
Mhm.
to help you find another job. We're going to give you 30 days to do it. That's okay, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's probably beneficial to both parties at that point. So, yeah, just making sure you have the right people and don't continue with the wrong person too long, but also make sure you're leading them well. Jake, we get it happen all the time. Oh, so and so is just not working out for us. It's like, well, how much time have you trained them? How
Mhm.
much time have you cast the vision for what your expectations? Do they have some KPIs and reporting and some measurements? And many times you'll find that they don't.
Yeah. Last question. Do you feel pressure? Like, you got all, all these people, you got all these things happening. I mean, you got construction happening in different countries in the world. You got clients in Europe and the US, and you're traveling, and does it feel like pressure, or, is the business kind of right, like, changing and growing so quickly that you don't have time to think about that, or does the growth maybe provide some confidence? Like, we're growing, so like things are great.
Well, you circle back to you talked about your coach and what you like to listen to. I think from my faith-based background, I do turn it over to God when it comes to getting worried and fear and anxiety and all those things. And I do think that because we are moving fast and because you're having to keep your eye on the ball, and I mean literally we're building two buildings in two different countries right now, and we've got a lot going on. So it's you are constantly trying to be in moving forward. I think what really inspires me every day is that we do operate, people say win wins, I mean win win win, but our win is we know that every time somebody hires a person, it's affecting that team member's life. And
Mhm.
that is a win because they have a job. So that inspires me knowing now we've got 1,200 people with jobs. They're probably taking care of 4 to 5 people in their family. When you look at how it works there with taking care of grandparents, et cetera. So, you look at, we may be helping 6,000 people eat every day, right? The second part of that is we win for our clients, just like DEO clients, and being able to provide them with amazing people. But also, we take 51% of our profits and give it back to ministries worldwide. I'm at one of the groups we sponsor now here in Austin, and it's amazing to see that impact. So, yeah, it was a long answer to your question, but do I feel pressure? Yeah, I think, but I feel pressure sometimes to do what the vision God gave us that we're gonna. I didn't mention this early, but the vision is 20,000 team members at 2032. So we're 8 years away from really having to spin it up, and we're growing in some other verticals now besides dental. So maybe it's just the pressure of gearing up and running faster is probably some of the pressure.
Yeah, it's a different kind of pressure. The pressure of, are you living your life mission, and are you able to kind of fulfill your life mission? A whole different level there. Well, thank you so much, JW. It's been amazing watching your journey, and I love hearing that 20,000 you said. I mean, you're well on your way, and it's cool to know that goal, because now we can watch, and there's no doubt in my mind you're going to hit that.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I think, and by the way, I love working with, how much we love working with DEO, and excited about finishing up this year and next year. And we just appreciate all you're doing for the industry as well. It's making an impact. The new coaching's making an impact. So we're looking forward to partnering with you guys next year as well.
It's a great partnership. Well, thanks so much. We'll see you at the next event.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.